is a presentation of Sertoba Media and Comey Media Incorporated.
Round 2 of the 2025 NFL Draft is live, but we got a lot more than just that to talk about because the UFL also has games this weekend, and we got to recap round 1 from last night. Let's go ahead and take it into this badass intro to get things started. It's just after 7 p.m. Eastern Time on this Friday, April 25th. I am your host, Drew Willingham, just like in that graphic right there with the championship belt. There it is. I am here. We got 70 people watching live already. This is great between multiple platforms. Again, I am Drew Willingham. We got a lot to talk about here tonight on this episode of Total Football Talk. As yes, it is just myself today. Cole is on vacation. You know, he is out of town for a week or so he will be away for today, but I will be here to bring you the recapped action from last night's round 1 of the NFL draft. My apologies for that. Had a little bit of a glitch there, but we had round 1 of the NFL draft. We had some slippages and picks, and the notable one, a son of a legend and Hall of Famer, Deion Sanders, primetime Deion Sanders. Yes, Shedeur Sanders has slipped out of the first round, but as round 2 is underway right now, we might be able to give you an update while we are live as the draft is underway for rounds 2 and 3 tonight. Now, again, we did say we had talked about the UFL Week 4's games from last week and the ones for this upcoming weekend, as we do have a game tonight between two teams we have to discuss. But with all that being said, let's go ahead and take this into the opening drive and discuss everything that I kind of just laid out for you.
All right, let's go. We got trips right at 42, 989 on 2. Ready? Ready.
And as we're here for the opening drive, my apologies for the late start and getting this thing going today. It's been kind of a rough week for myself with everything going on out here in these streets, but making this live happen to give you the content for the platforms. Now, when it comes to this, as always, when it comes to the platforms, we have Comey Media and Sertoba Media as the two platforms that are streaming this live. So if you could, please press that like button, share it, and subscribe if you haven't already. With the opening drive, like we said, we have the NFL draft to talk about. Round 1, Cam Ward went overall number 1 to the Tennessee Titans, which that was kind of slated throughout this entire offseason process. Cam Ward was going number 1 to the Titans based on what Will Levis's production's been over the past couple of years with that team. You know, the Titans needed a quarterback and drafted the top one in the class, according to many people out there who grade these players. You know, I think at some point, not enough people are saying it right now, but at some point, people are going to regret letting Shedeur Sanders slip to where he has slipped to at this point. Because again, we already said it. He's not drafted. He didn't get drafted in the first round. And as we are live right now, he is still not drafted. So We'll see if Cam Ward really is in comparisons to Steve McNair within the next few years, because that's what they're saying that this kid looks like, and that's why he was drafted number 1 overall instead of Shedeur Sanders, instead of Jackson Dart, who the Giants traded back up in the first round, and we'll talk about them selecting him and where they selected him at too. But for the second overall pick, we got to talk about Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter was selected, and this was a selection that the Cleveland Browns had. There was a lot of discussions of Travis Hunter going there at 2. However, there's been discussions over the past few weeks of them trading out from that spot, and they actually did. And the Jaguars took that pick, number 2 overall, trading this year's number 1 pick that they had in the 5th overall pick. And they traded the number 1 pick they have for next year, along with some other picks in this draft, to basically acquire the number 2 and acquire Travis Hunter, who has been compared to as a wide receiver like Odell Beckham Jr. as far as his skill sets, and like Champ Bailey as a defensive back if you plug him on defense. So if you look at the 2 different positions and how the Jaguars plan to use him as a hybrid spot, I would say if you look at what the value is to what he brings, it's pretty big to what he brings over there to the Jaguars. I'd have to say that's a B, a solid B, maybe a B plus as far as a grade if I were to grade it here on the spot. But our next pick we have, number 3, the New York Giants. And there was a lot of there's a lot of discussion over the offseason of who was going to be their number 3 overall pick. And was it going to be Shedeur Sanders? Was it going to be Abdul Carter? Was it going to be Ashton Janty? Or were they going to go and try to beef up their offensive line a little bit? No, they went with Abdul Carter, somebody I've been saying for the past 2 months on this show should be selected with the number 3 overall pick because they needed help with the edge spot, and they made a great selection. I mean, this is a solid B plus grade, I would say, too. So Abdul Carter being selected number 3 out of Penn State to the Giants, absolutely big, as we discussed that here in the opening drive. For the 4 overall pick, the New England Patriots did select an offensive tackle, and they took Will Campbell out of LSU. The Patriots needed help with that blindside spot, and especially with trying to beef things up around Drake May, a new head coach, and Mike Vrabel, who it's not his first rodeo as a head coach, but him being his first year with his former team that he was a player for, and taking over for a year that Gerard Mayo had as a dumpster fire season with that team after the hoodie departed. He's got a lot he's got to overhaul, and that offensive line is part of it because you need help on the blind side. Will Campbell going number 4 to the Patriots. I really like that. Now at the number 5, the Jaguars had this pick, but they traded up again to the 2, and we already discussed that one for, Travis Hunter, who is in this graphic that I have right here, the number 2. As we discussed, Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, and Abdul Carter going 1, 2, and 3. They're right there with myself in the championship belt, with the Sanders family on the outside and the sad Dallas Cowboy behind them. We'll get more into that later on. But right here and now, when it comes to the number 5 overall pick, the Cleveland Browns took defensive tackle Mason Graham out of Michigan. I really like this pick, being on the team that was the national champion Michigan Wolverine team from 2 years ago now. It's weird to say that considering it was last year, but it was 2 seasons ago. You know what I'm saying? Jim Harbaugh, head coach of that team at that point. With him, he's basically being compared to Christian Wilkins, a solid defensive tackle, but they're not throwing but so much at him so early. Even though I graded the other ones a little bit lower, I'm going to say this is probably at least an A-, mainly for the Cleveland Browns giving some help to Myles Garrett, who was just talking about potentially wanting to leave. He got his money, but that doesn't mean that within the next year or 2, he's going to be wanting to get traded out of there or suddenly retire or whatever. You have somebody in Mason Graham that within the next 4 years, if you lose Myles Garrett, you got somebody that can plug and play with him and Mason Graham. I like this pick right there by the Cleveland Browns. Number 6, the Las Vegas Raiders had this pick, and we didn't think they were going to go with the quarterback at number 6 because you've got Geno, you've got Pete Carroll over there in Las Vegas now. It is basically Seattle Seahawks 2.0. I'd say 2020 Seattle Seahawks or 2021 Seattle Seahawks 2.0. And they pick Ashton Janty with the running back spot, who kind of reminds me of Skittles, Marshawn Lynch, with how solid he is. Ashton Janty out of Boise State, even though that blue on that field will mess with your eyes, I got to give him a solid grade of a B minus here. I mean, even though some people out there would grade this a little bit lower based on their need at other positions around and not taking a running back with the first overall pick that they had at 6, I think it's solid because you have a decent quarterback that's a plug-and-play bridge quarterback. You know, even though this is Seattle Seahawks 2.0, and you do need a little bit of help on the offensive line. I kind of like what the next pick is for the next team, and I'm talking about that the Raiders could have selected overall as a better value at 6, but I'm not overall too mad at this. The Raiders needed help with a running back, and there's more options that they have in the play action game because of what you can do with him as a pass catcher as well. I like Ashton Jeanty at 6, and I'm going to stick with it. But the next pick, if I were to say, if anybody were to get picked ahead of him at 6, I really like what the New York Jets did here. And I'm not going to jump on the bandwagon because we've already seen what getting excited about what the Jets did over the past 2 years did for us as far as the offseason hype for Aaron Rodgers, and they didn't live up to it, right? Hard knocks, everything. Like, you put it all up in a ball, you look at how it is. I mean, look, Armand Mimbu, I might be butchering his name, but I just remember seeing tape of him out of Missouri. The offensive tackle, he's going to help out the Jets pretty big, and if he's a bust, I'm going to be very surprised. But they're comparing him to Dwayne Brown in comparison to what I saw with some of his highlights. I like what he's got at the value for number 7 to the Jets. I think in compared to Jeanty, if you were going to take anybody above Jeanty at 6, you would have taken him. But I'm not mad at like what the Raiders took, and this is something we can come back to a year or two from now and discuss and say, hey, was it a great, valuable pick or was it not? The Carolina Panthers were next at number 8, and they took Teteriora. I probably butchered his name, McMillan. We'll just say McMillan out of Arizona. He gets a grade of a B because I only graded the top 10. I didn't grade anybody outside of that. Based on what I saw, with the Carolina Panthers and what their need is with the wide receiver, Bryce Young needs some more targets to throw to. He's got Adam Thielen. Yes, I get that. But at the same time, doesn't really have anybody outside of Thielen, and Thielen's on the wrong side of 30 in comparison to this player who's in his early 20s. I like having this selection at the number 8. However, there was a few other wide receivers out there that I'll talk about outside of the top 10 that I might have taken the 8 ahead of him, and we'll get to them in a few. Number 9, I have Kelvin Banks going to the Saints out of Texas. This was a great pick because they really needed some help with their offensive line. That's why Derek Carr got beat up last year. When you look at this, I'm not mad at them selecting an offensive lineman at number 9. Just like with the next pick, even though it's not offensive line, it's still within the offensive line. I'm going to say with the number 10 overall pick, the Chicago Bears had a solid pick with Colston Loveland out of Michigan. Part of that, national championship team from 2 years ago. He's going to bring a solid weapon that Caleb Williams is going to need there at the tight end spot because they really don't have a solid blocking tight end who is a great, wouldn't say great, but a solid pass catcher at the same time. I really like what he's going to do. I like in what I see as far as a comparison to Owen Daniels for him. I really like that. And I'm going to say altogether that Colston Loveland's going to help fingernail man who paints his nails, Caleb Williams, look like a solid NFL quarterback out here in these streets. Got me up. I don't know if you saw thing. I don't know what's going to be. As now it's back. All right. So you have hopefully seen this more time. Got me up. All right. So if you saw the side of my face for a little bit, my bad. If you saw a frozen picture of myself, my bad. Things were frozen for a second. I don't know if it's the weather outside because there's been some rain going on. I don't know if it has to do with the fact that it's Xfinity and not completely Fios, what I have with my area. I don't know what kind of problem it is with the interwebs, but the fact that 79 of you are still watching this between the 4 different platforms right now, I greatly appreciate it. I'm trying to stay passionate because even though I was trying to be funny, this did this to me. Got me up. I know that it might be shenanigans, which isn't a total.
Surprise, motherfucker.
But with all that being said, I forgot where we were at with our discussion.
Stop it. Get some help.
Oh, yeah, that's why I do. I wrote a slate for today, which I look right at the computer screen and see that slate. I know where we're at. So we were talking about Colston Loveland, the tight end out of Michigan, when all that was happening because we went to Fingernail Man and all that. Yeah, that's where we were at. So, all right, back to that. There's your top 10 picks. It's the only ones that I graded, but I do have honorable mentions as far as when I was talking about the wide receivers that I would potentially take over Mr. McMillan out of Arizona with the 8th overall pick with the Carolina Panthers. I really, really, really think that the Packers got a steal with their pick at wide receiver and Matthew Golden out of Texas. They got a solid player over there in Green Bay. I really like what they got 23 overall. My man, Darrell Owens, you should be doing the happy dance all day long because of what you got at the number 3 overall pick. I mean, number 23 overall pick, but your first round overall pick. Because in comparison to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers pick with somebody with the last name that I forgot how to pronounce. First name that I'm getting pretty close to, but, as far as forgetting, but I'm going to say Emeka. If I butcher his name, I'm sorry. But out of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Emeka Egbuka or Emeka. This guy out of Ohio State, he is nothing in comparison. I wouldn't say nothing, but not as great of a talent in comparison to Matthew Golden and what he was doing in Texas over there. And making Quinn Ewers look good. And Arch Manning, come on. Just imagine the amount of things the two of them could have done if they would have had another year together, considering who's taking over the reins in Texas now. Get back into that discussion another day because that is total football talk. But right here and now, talking about the present and the players being drafted, and we'll get to the live ones here soon too. At the number 19 overall pick in comparison to the number 23, when you look at those in comparison to the number 8 overall pick, I think that Matthew Golden should have been taken in the top 10. If you're going to take a wide receiver at number 8 in Carolina, you should have taken Matthew Golden out of Texas because of what he was able to do to make Quinn Ewers looked like a pro-style quarterback at the time when he was looking pretty good, but he kind of had a dip this past year, injuries, whatever the case may be. We'll talk about that later on because we haven't had him selected yet. But I'm talking about Matthew Golden at 23 to the Green Bay Packers, and I'm putting the praise on him right here and now. And it's going to stay that way in comparison to the number 8 overall pick and what the Panthers are going to get out of McMillan from Arizona. Say it for what it is. And I'll get to your comments here in a second. Thank you all who are commenting right here and now. But when you look at the number 8 overall pick,
What?
and you look at the number 23 overall pick,
What?
Panthers,
What?
Packers.
What?
There's a reason why the Packers are better on paper and on film than the Panthers because of selections like this.
What?
I can click the button all day long.
What?
But your mother, father, and know what I'm talking about.
What?
If you watch the mother, father, and film.
What?
I'm sorry, but I'm doing extra stuff to make this more entertaining because I'm by myself today.
What?
Come on now, motherfucker.
What?
It's all in the name of fun. Now, was that a total?
Surprise, motherfucker.
I don't think so.
I think I got my swagger back. Oh.
Or did I ever lose it completely when it comes to this in comparison? The Packers are going to see a Super Bowl before this team
This has been yet another Beating a Dead Horse presentation.
Acknowledge me.
You can do that, and you can do this too.
You like that? You like that?
Now that the internet streaming service has got itself under control.
Got me up.
If you were watching, then it was like watching a bunch of dumpster pelicans on National Geographic bumping uglies that we can't talk about here on YouTube.
You can't handle the truth.
And that's why we can't talk about it. But right here and now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Back to the NFL draft as the shenanigery took place, and I ended it with headbutting the microphone right here and now. But 23 in comparison to 8, I really like Matthew Golden. He should have been selected number 8 to the Panthers, but you got to steal in Green Bay, and we will talk about that for years to come. But when it comes to that, rounding out the first round, we got to talk about a selection that was made 2 picks later that I would say that could be discussed for years to come. As the 80 of you watching right now between several platforms, thank you so much for watching live. This is a off time. I'm usually not live right now. It's usually earlier in the day. But this week kicked my expletive, and I had to get some sleep this afternoon. Then I got to go back to work later tonight. But I'm making time for you as I'm hype with the energy drink right here. But I can't discuss that because we are not sponsored by them. We are live. Bring your comments in the chat, and I will do this and discuss them here shortly. We gotta pause that. I'll pause myself and read your comments. But when it comes to the first round of the NFL draft, I was getting sidetracked because 2 picks after Matthew Golden was another one of a team that traded up to select somebody, and this was their second pick in the first round, a team that needed help at this position that they were discussing all during the offseason, and they brought in a couple veteran pieces. When you look at Jameis Winston, and then you look at Russell Wilson, and you got Tommy Cutlets already. That's 3 quarterbacks in New York. But they wanted to bring in a rookie at some point, and they did, and they traded up into the first round. Along with what they did to help out their defense, they brought in somebody on offense, and they brought in quarterback, not Shedeur Sanders, Jackson Dart out of Ole Miss. This selection, I think, was wrong, and the Giants are going to pay for it, but they have some type of beef with the Sanders family from back in the 90s when Dion didn't want to go 3 overall to the Giants back then, and that's why he ended up slipping to the Falcons. So when you look at that for whatever it is, and you look at the trades that are made and how players are selected at certain points within history, you know, I would say Jackson Dart's kind of like Drew Lock. He's not going to be somebody who's going to be a formidable starting quarterback that's going to make a difference. He's somebody that can be a solid backup and, you know, be a bridge quarterback at some point, and maybe if somebody goes down, fill in for a few games. But he's not going to be somebody that's going to, you know, change your offensive scheme like Shedeur Sanders could if you put weapons like Malik Neighbors around him like they've got, and bring in some other talent at some point around him, whether it's through trades, free agency, or the upcoming year's drafts. Now, when you put all that in perspective and you think about how things are as a whole, with the quarterbacks that are available, it's not really a draft class that's I'm getting excited about. Cam Ward was a solid pick for the Titans, but even years from now, they could be looking back and saying that Sanders was a better selection than him. There's people out there that are putting a lot of shade and throwing a lot of, you know, ill-fated shade at the Sanders family right now because of their fame, what primetime is set up as far as a platform for them and beyond throughout their youth and now to adulthood for all of his kids. And this is a way that the NFL punished Sanders for that, or at least teams did. And luckily, he's got enough endorsements, and that family's got enough money to where, you know, the financial side of what he would get paid as a selection in the NFL draft isn't going to break them. So when you put all that together, I think these teams are going to regret passing on him in the first round, the ones that had the option to improve their team with quarterbacks. And, you know, of course, they're not going to have any ill will at the teams that really didn't need the help. Like, look at the Commanders. They don't need any help at quarterback right now. And, with Jaden Daniels, he's doing great. He'll keep it up, stay strong. He's a franchise changer in him. Shedeur Sanders needed to go somewhere like a Tennessee, like a Las Vegas, like a Pittsburgh, that, these teams that could trade up that we could be talking about throughout this live stream as possibilities for teams that could select him in this time. So we'll talk about that throughout this live stream, but throughout the first round of of this draft in 2025, I'm not mad at what I see from these top 10 picks, except for that number 8. The Panthers. The Panthers really, looking back on it, kind of grinding my gears with not taking Golden over what they selected. I think they'll regret that. I think it's funny that the Eagles and the Chiefs traded the 31 and the 32 overall picks at the end. Both teams getting great players, though, in my opinion, that'll help their team out, with the Eagles moving up to 31, getting linebacker Jahad Campbell out of Alabama, and the Kansas City Chiefs with their selection at 32, getting Josh Simmons out of Ohio State. So they literally could have stayed right where they were at and selected the same players, but for them, they wanted to make sure they got, or at least the Eagles wanted to make sure they got their guy, the linebacker, and Campbell, coming from Alabama, learning the things that he did from a Nick Saban. He's going to be great. And rounding out that first half of the opening drive is that discussion of the first round of the NFL draft. Let me go ahead and get to your comments, and then we will move forward within this program. Where's the transition that I need? Cole, you know exactly what transition I'm talking about, but I don't see it right here and now for me to click. I don't know what happened to it. Guys, all right, look. There it is. All right, here's one. Here's the transition that I'm talking about. It's a simple whistle, but it's a good dividing factor, kind of like this one, into different topics that we're talking about. I'm not used to leading this program of all the programs that we have, so I'm trying to drive the bus a little bit in comparison to what I normally do, where I just sit back and talk with Cole on here. So hopefully, as a whole, by myself, doing okay for those of you out there, which is why we have a decent viewership right now. 81 of you are watching live right now. Thank you, which is awesome in comparison to, we're just a small startup channel in Sartoba Media and Comey. So we're hoping that the coverage right now will help you all decide if you want to subscribe and stick around for the shenanigery out here in these streams. But we got to talk about some other picks, and we got to talk about what you think is who got served the big old with their selections in this year's NFL draft. As we are live, Shedeur Sanders slipped out of the first round of the NFL draft, and the second round is live right now. But you have comments that you're saying, and I want to bring it up as my man Corey Mann is out here, and shenanigans is a necessity. Absolutely, you know it. And we have shenanigery out there for you guys to go back and watch, which I will show you here in just a second.
Yeah!
You gotta love shenanigery out here in this streams to the 82 of you.
What's that?
Oh, yeah. Thank you out there for the comments, you guys. Let's see what else you guys got to say. As Sick Dicky's here saying good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. And even though you know you love the that is exactly what it was. You can go, that is exactly what it is. I don't know how you spell it, but yes, you go, that is how you say his name. I don't know, but yes. The what's ups with everybody is going on out here in these streams, and everybody was loving the Easter. And this is definitely a one-man show, he says. Yes, indeed, I'm trying my best. I miss Cole, but I'm getting hyped because I have to go to work here later tonight, and I'm getting myself revved up to be able to go knock it out real quick and come on back home. Luther Burden is a better pick than McMillan. Yes, indeed. Yes,
Yeah.
and if you get butthurt about it,
You can't handle the truth.
come on now, let me just.
You guys want to hear a fucking story?
Matthew Golden is still better than him, too. But yes, Luther Burden, solid pick. But 8, I would have gone with Golden over McMillan. And they're still saying everything is good and not too bad out here in these streams. And go back and check it if you guys are on YouTube. Jump in with their conversation with one another as they are having a great time out here dipping and diving in the conversations. And one has to consider what the mindset of said team is when they draft particular rookies. Certain draftees have reservations about going to particular teams. Basically, when it comes to GMs, they need to do this.
You should know your role and shut your mouth.
Not you, Sick. I'm talking about the GMs because they got to know how to draft these particular rookies. That's why people out here are kind of harsh with their feelings of these grades. And when it comes to Golden over McMillan, I'm still going to say that till the end of time, Golden over McMillan, because that's how I feel when it comes to drafting particular rookies out here in these streams. Folks, forget about the amount of wheeling and dealing involved in the draft. That's what Six says. And that's what we're sticking to out here in these streams. That's what they got as of a few minutes ago. Before we go to part 2 of the opening drive, because part 2 of the opening drive is just a recap of UFL from last week, I'm going to take a short commercial break. It's the one-man show. It's got to get a breath in between. And we got to get some advertisements for the other programs that we have between both of our platforms and Comey Media and Sertoba Media before we completely go. You don't want that, and I don't mother-fathering want that. We're going to take our first commercial break. See you here on the other side.
All right, let's go. We got trips, right? At 42, 989. On 2, on 2, on 2. Ready? Ready.
We're just getting started. Total Football Talk will return right after this. Whether it's news, the largest egg producer finds bird flu in chickens at a Texas plant, weather, devastating tornadoes rip through the heart of the United States, inspiration, a breast cancer survivor completed the journey of chemotherapy, and now begins a future one of matrimony or sports. Michael Jordan is shown on a photo with Diddy. LeBron James has a video extolling the virtues of a Diddy party. This has been yet another beating a dead horse presentation. We got you covered. BS3 Network, in association with Comey Media Incorporated, proudly present The Morning Shift with Cole Johnson. Live every weekday at 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central. Hey, Eagles fan. Join my man Cool McCain and a host of others as they break down every single game, every single week in an objective manner, and also from a fan's perspective as well. Remember, this cast feels just like you. Nobody likes you. And you don't care. Fly, Eagles, fly. Eagles Elite Podcast, every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on YouTube and other podcast outlets.
Everything Boston. I love you morons. New Kids from the Block, New Edition.
Dear whatever the law firm is. Sincerely, the U.S. Supreme Court.
Ben Affleck, Matt Damon. Go yourself again, Jason Whitlock.
It's not quite that time. As again, it's not quite that time. We are back from commercial break. Forgive the aheadiveness, but because of the amount of stuff we had to talk about in the opening drive, I figured it'd be good to take a slight commercial break in between for myself. Give myself a little bit of a breather. I mean, come on, I'm one person doing a one-man show. Give me a break. I mean, normally it is a two-man show, but right now it is a one following the Easter holiday, as my man Cole was out there rocking and rolling out on the road, spending time with family. Now, back here with myself and you, the viewer, the 83 of you watching live. This is awesome. In the moment between those of you watching, between the several different platforms that we are streaming to right now, we will get into that more later in the show. But right here, we have part 2 of the opening drive. I'm going to click that intro button one more time.
All right, let's go. We got trips, right? At 42, 989. On two. Ready? Ready.
Just to continue one part from the NFL draft, let's talk about the picks that we have right here. That we have an update for you for this round 2. We got to talk about somebody that is a pretty local kid here on the East Coast. For myself, got to talk about Travion Henderson as the Patriots look to draft him at their selection. I mean, looking at this right here now, the second round. We're going to be talking more about this, but the page just froze. That page. But let's get back to what we already have in store for you, and we'll get back to that. My bad. We got to talk about UFL Week 4. I got graphics for this. We can just go ahead and knock this one on out. This is something that you don't have to rely on technology as you created it yourself with other technology before the live stream graphic design. Looking at here now, past Friday, a week ago from today, the Memphis Showboats were in Michigan to take on the Panthers. The Battlehawks were on the road to take on the Renegades in Arlington on Saturday. And the secondary Saturday game on WrestleMania weekend was the Stallions versus the Roughnecks. And Sunday we had the Brahmas, named after Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, San Antonio Brahmas, and the DC Defenders in DC. And we got those 4 games to discuss. We're going to start it off with the Showboats and the Panthers. The now 0-4 Showboats went on the road to take on the 2-1 Panthers, who after this game are now 3-1. We got to talk about the do's and the don'ts of this game and who sucked and who didn't. We got to talk about who sucked, definitely, and that was the quarterback of the Showboats, E.J. Perry, 8 of 16. Had another dumpster Pelican-like performance. Completed half of his passes. 74 overall passing yards. 4.6 overall yards per pass. Didn't even have a touchdown. Had an interception. And had a QBR of 37. 37. Let that sink in. 30 mother-fathering 7. Yes. Because that's how bad it was. You needed to take a picture of that actual QBR statistic because it was just that bad. Even this team would know not to draft this guy for the NFL.
Ain't nobody calling.
Delete!
Hey, they would know better. They would not draft him. So looking at it for what it is, you got to see this for what it is.
Ain't nobody care. Who cares? Ain't nobody care.
They don't. They don't care whatsoever. Go back and look at this guy and how he plays. 37 QBR. This team, the Memphis Showboats don't care, because if they did care, they wouldn't be putting a quarterback of this caliber out there to do what he's doing. 37 QBR. EJ Perry, sit down. So he did. They sat him down. What does your backup quarterback do? Your backup quarterback goes 4 of 8. Troy Williams, the savior, comes in 4 of 8. And his replacement in the second half completed half of his passes as well. It was completing half of his passes. 4 of 8. He threw for 13 yards, you guys. 13 yards he threw for. Average of 1.6 yards per pass. Didn't have an interception. Didn't turn the ball over. Did well enough to where he had a higher QBR rating too, of 56.3. That is exactly what Troy Williams did out here on that field. I guess there is one highlight that you got to give to these quarterbacks, though. Their ability to scramble around a little bit. EJ Perry, in comparison to his 37 QBR, ran the ball 9 times, running for his life. 9 times, mustering up 30 yards for an average of 3.3 yards per scramble as he was running for his life out there on that field. Did have a long of 7, but mainly scrambling for his life. He did. The running game couldn't get anything under control because this team has no offensive line. They have no protection, and that's why they're 0-4. Okay, that's just the best way to describe it. They're 0-4 because of their lackluster performance and protection on the offensive line, and the inability for their receivers to get open, because the defensive secondaries on all these teams look like the best secondaries of all time because they have talentless receivers that can't catch. Sorry, but
You guys want to hear a fucking story?
I'm just telling you the truth. That's the story. The truth is what I'm seeing in the film and what I'm seeing live with watching these games. They're just that bad.
Surprise, motherfucker.
Is it really a surprise? I mean, this team, this 0-4 team, just needs to
Stop it. Get some help.
You're 0-4. Learn how to win, because you're not doing it. 0-4. Memphis Showboats. Panthers improved to 3-1, and they do it as a result of their play by Bryce Perkins, the quarterback of this team for multiple seasons now, having a 68.2 completion percentage, 15 completions out of 22 attempts for 200 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. No turnovers whatsoever, and had a QBR of 127.1. Definitely the MVP of this game. You got to look at McCrary, their running back, as well as Tawa, who both mustered over 50 yards together and a touchdown apiece. McCrary had 60, and both combined for over 113 yards rushing on 21 attempts for 2 touchdowns. So both of them were a strong, solid piece to what this Panthers team brought on the offensive side. But it's not hard when you have a team in the Showboats who have no offense. In the defense, who did put up a decent fight the first couple weeks, just in this game looked like they just didn't care because of the result of what the offense was putting up on their production side. So if you have a production out of your offense that just doesn't care, like they don't care, it's okay if you make mistakes because nobody's perfect. So you make mistakes, and you're still trying to learn and get better, that's one thing. But the Memphis Showboats don't even look like they're trying. If you're not trying, not making the effort, what's the point of having you there? And that's what I'm thinking about this Memphis Showboats team. Relocate the motherfather to a city that actually cares and wants to go and watch the team and be supportive, for one. But 2, there's people out there that actually want to be there, actually want an opportunity to succeed and have a shot at the NFL afterwards by putting up some decent tape here in the UFL. But you're not going to get that if you're on this team known as the Memphis Showboats of Tennessee. You're going to be accustomed to taking this. The Showboats, are an absolute If you were to rank them amongst dumpster Pelicans, they are number one at the top of this list for the United Football League. Dumpster Pelicans that will upset you if you are a fan of said team, which I don't know anybody who has voluntarily become a Memphis Showboats fan. If you are a fan of the Memphis Showboats, it is because you are doing so against your will. You are a hostage in somebody's basement, chained up with no other reason to like the team, but because it's the only thing that's on TV and they are forcing you to watch it, and they know that you like football, and the only option you have to watch it is to watch this Memphis Showboats team, a recurring 24-hour highlight channel of dumpster Pelican play of all Memphis Showboats games that are absolutely terrible. They are the dumpster Pelicans of this team, of this league, and if you're a fan, it's because you're a hostage and have no other option but to watch that game. I'm sorry, it's the truth. You know it, and I know it, because all they do is take the... I know somebody out there is feeling like... I hope so. Put a lot of energy into that. There's a lot of ad lib, a lot of on the fly. But yes, the team sucks.
What?
It's so bad.
What?
Man.
What?
So bad, man. So bad. But yes, still got other games we could talk about. Recap is that was this past Friday. We now have to talk about Saturday games. So the Saturday games, there was two of them this past WrestleMania weekend. As we look at the graphic once again, you got the St. Louis Battlehawks and the Arlington Renegades. And overall, as a whole, the UFL sucked as a whole. I'm sorry. I mean, it might not be the analytical way to say it, but I'm not somebody out here that's on a national network getting paid. So I'm going to say suck if I want to, and this platform. So I'm going to say if I feel it. I'm feeling it right now. Right here and now, there's just bad overall play because I think they just didn't put much forth of an effort, because a lot of people, if they were watching sports last weekend, were watching WrestleMania, because it was, UFL was on during WrestleMania times, at least the Saturday night game, which is the next one. But this one in the afternoon wasn't on Saturday, but you had NXT Stand and Deliver that was on, and you were more likely watching that if you were watching anything at 12:30 in the afternoon at this time last weekend. But anyway, with this game, the St. Louis Battlehawks and the Arlington Renegades. Battlehawks lose this game on the road, losing their second consecutive game of the season. They're 2-2 now, losing to the Renegades, who have been on fire this year despite the one game they lost, have been absolutely feeling it and have been playing very well even in the loss that they suffered. Winning this game, though, 30-15 at home. And looking at what these two teams did, we got to take a look in comparison overall as a whole, because, man, 30-15 is a good game between these two teams right here. And the Renegades, who are 3-1, you got to take a look at the fact that sometimes when you have a thing that you print up and it disappears, you got to go back and well, there it is. All right, my apologies. Tried to take something and run with it for just a second so I don't suffer the... Luis Perez was a highlight in this game as the quarterback for the Renegades, because between him and Sal Cannella, they connected 3 times for 35 yards. But the one person who caught the one touchdown pass from Perez out of 17 passing attempts was none other than a man who caught the touchdown pass and took it on in, Mr. Jay Payton. And old Jay Payton on a 1-yard catch and run on a 2-yard scramble made it on in. So he ran for a yard, caught it, and fell in. 2 yards altogether. 1 + 1 = 2. Jay made it happen and show you basic math out here for the one touchdown of the game. Perez did, though, throw an interception to make a difference in the I would say the Battlehawks getting one of their 2 scores. But right here now, Day Hunter also is a running back for this team, had 8 carries for 25 yards and 1 touchdown with a long of 7 yards on that touchdown. Made it happen as he was scrambling and dinking and dunking out there to get things going. And he did. 30-15 is the result of this game. You have the Perez man throwing a touchdown and an interception. And Mr. Max Duggan on the other side of the ball for the Battlehawks. Not filling in well for A.J. McCarron. 8 of 17 in completions out of attempts for passes for 78 yards. No touchdown passes. 2 interceptions. Again, not 1, but 2 interceptions out here in these streams. Jerome Sandler is out here. 20 carries for 61 yards. Does not get in the end zone, but help this team at least show some type of effort out here on the field, because 20 carries is impressive, but 3 yards per carry just goes to show the lack of protection around him. The Battlehawks have fallen off tremendously this year, and this game was pretty close, even though I have this one as the dumpster fire of the week. This one, if it wasn't for this game being as bad as it was, this would have been my selection based on the productivity of these 2 teams, and I don't want to take up too much more time talking about that one. Now, when it comes to episode 81 of Total Football Talk, that's what we are here for right here and now. And there are 2 more teams and 2 more games that we have, but 4 teams altogether, but 2 teams in this particular matchup that we have to discuss. And those 2 teams in that matchup are none other than the Stallions and the Houston Roughnecks. I can't believe the Roughnecks, who came into this game 1-2, had a chance to beat the 2-1 Birmingham Stallions. It was close up until the 4th quarter. And you look at the production of the Roughnecks over the past couple seasons, they have been a dumpster Pelican team within the league, but they have shown that they made some improvements over the past offseason. None other, in comparison to like the Memphis Showboats, who got even worse than what they were last year. And they were just downright awful last year. I don't even know how to grade them right now in comparison to that. And we're not even halfway through the season yet. But the Roughnecks are trying. And when you're hanging in there with the Stallions, who are back-to-back-to-back champions, winning back-to-back USFL championships, and then last year's inaugural season of the 2 leagues merging between the USFL and the XFL, the UFL championship. The Stallions coming into this trying to defend their current triple, championship winning seasons. They're back-to-back-to-back seasons, trying to make it back-to-back-to-back-to-back, which is unheard of. But then it would show the dominance of this team, of the 2 leagues that there are, and how they are a force to be reckoned with for the years to come if they keep this up. And they are looking good throughout the first month. 3-1 is not something you want to bat an eye at. And with what they did in this game, the Saturday night game of the 4 games, you would have to say Matt Corral is finding ways to win football games. He's not doing the greatest job at quarterback. I mean, he's a career backup in the NFL, but in the UFL, he's got 2 touchdowns and an interception this past week, but he still has a QBR of 91.3. 14 completions out of 25 attempts, 56.0 completion percentage. Threw for 195 passing yards. Not terrible, not great, but it's not terrible. Still found ways to win this game. Case Cook is formerly of the Brahmas, now on on the Stallions team. Got in there 2 and threw 2 passes, only completing half of them, but even he had a QBR of 95.8. So in comparison to Corral, if he goes down, Cook is going to be able to fill in a pretty decent role. Corral also had 10 carries for 52 yards. Not terrible. And Deion Kane and Old Davis over there, both of them combined for 5 catches for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. And those are the 2 touchdowns that Matt Corral passed for. So looking at that for what it is, it did great in this game. But the Roughnecks found ways to stay in it. And the one thing that hurt them, that really changed the tide, was when good old Jay McClendon threw that interception. Did have 236 passing yards, But Henderson has been in there throwing the ball and turning the thing over for several weeks. But Jalen McClendon comes in, 236 passing yards, and kept this Roughnecks team in it against the Stallions. So he also ran five times for 17 yards and had a scrambling touchdown. So he didn't have any passing touchdowns, but he did have a rushing touchdown along with Zay White's rushing touchdown. They both scored. That's what kept this team in the game against the current back-to-back-to-back year champions in the Stallions, who win this game 23-16 as a result of the Roughnecks trying to stay in it and contend this past week. Yes, we will get back to the NFL draft coverage very shortly, but we're recapping this past weekend in UFL action. I'll get to your comments here shortly there, ladies and gentlemen. But yes, UFL Week 4 for this team. We've now covered the Showboats and Panthers, the Renegades and the Battlehawks, the Stallions and the Roughnecks, and there is still one more team to cover out here in these streams. And for that, we have to go to the Sunday game. Which I would say is the upset of the week between the 4 games in the UFL from week 4, and it happened to be between a team that was undefeated coming in and a team that was defeated coming in as well. The Brahmas coming into this game 0-3, the Defenders coming into this game 3-0. I had the Defenders winning this game, and any of you would have said the same thing too, especially at home, being 3-0. But the Brahmas, without their head coach in Wade Phillips, with an interim head coach right now, as he has decided to take a step aside, they find a way to win, and the Brahmas are now 1-3 as a result of the interim head coach coming in and changing things up in the play column, which could affect what this team does for the rest of this season. Mark it, I said it. This team was in the UFL championship game last year in the inaugural season of the combined leagues. They could go back if they make the right moves for the rest of this 2025 season. Now, looking at what happened in this game, Kellen Mond actually stepped up. It didn't look like an absolute total snowflake like he did the first few weeks. He actually completed over half of his passes, 14 completions out of 20 attempts for 70% completion percentage, and had 6 yards per attempt and passes for what he completed. 121 passing yards. It's not a whole lot, but he did not turn the ball over, which is huge in comparison to what he did the first few weeks. He also had 1 touchdown, which is huge. What he did passing that and getting it to his receiver in the moment, good old Ward, who had 3 catches for 20 yards, and that's G Money, did I call him? Greg Ward. You got to call him G Money because he hauled it in, and he got that touchdown. So for the Brahmas, doing what they did to get this win over a Defenders team, finding a way to win with a running back who did not run the ball very well. Anthony McFarland has been struggling this year, and he did in this game. He did carry the ball 14 times for 55 yards, but it was 3.9 yards per carry, and he struggled, having a long of 18, but he didn't get the ball in the end zone, and 4 yards per attempt. Actually, let's just say what it was, honestly. It was 3.9 yards per carry. Wasn't that good for old Anthony McFarland, but the passing game for Kellen Mond and the ability for the non-turnover aspect of it for what he did in the previous 3 weeks of the UFL was absolutely big for the Brahmas, getting their first win of the season this past Sunday. This is my upset of the week over the DC Defenders in Washington, D.C. The DC Defenders fall to 3-1. But right here and now, what do you think when it comes to those 4 games, and especially with Jordan Ta'amu not turning the ball over for the DC Defenders? They scored 18 points. He did have 104.1 QBR, which was better than what Kellen Mond did, who had 102.3. But he did not get the ball in the end zone, and out of more passing attempts, he had 31 passing attempts, only completed 19 of them, only had a 61.3 percentage in completions in comparison to Mond, who had 70, But he did have a whole lot more passing yards, throwing for 299 passing yards, 9.6 yards per attempt. When you have that much production on your offense, there's no excuse for you to not score more than 18 points. So for that, and considering the fact that he also ran the ball 10 times, that being Tom, the quarterback of the Defenders, for 74 rushing yards, averaging 7.4 yards per carry, had a rushing touchdown. He scored 2 touchdowns, didn't turn the ball over, and you still lost the game. This DC Defenders team let down Jordan Ta'amu in that game this past Sunday. That's why I say it's the upset of the week. The Brahmas, in comparison statistically, even though I gave them praise just a minute ago, I got to say in comparison to the Defenders, without the turnover, with no turnovers, you had a receiver, too, who had 3 catches for 87 yards, another one with 7 catches for 61 yards, and Mr. Moore McKinney, who had 1 catch in the whole game for 39 yards, got the 1 touchdown receiving from Jordan Ta'amu. And then along with his rushing touchdown, that's how you did what you did, and you got 18 points and you still lost the game. The defense of the Defenders let them down in this game, giving up 24 points to a Brahmas team that was 0-3 coming into this game. It says it in the graphic. After the result of this game, the Brahmas have their first win. The Defenders have their first loss. 0-3 to 3-0. It's the upset of the week, and if you don't like it, I don't know what else to tell you, because the DC Defenders did not deserve to take the... When you look at what they did on offense and special teams, it's their defense that served them up that big old fat old steak.
What?
Oh yeah, the upset of the week is brought to you by myself and this graphic as well. And that concludes the Sunday games. We are Mother, Father, and Live for Total Football Talk, episode 81 out here in these streams. I'm rocking it solo today. Cole is on vacation. Hoping to have him back next week. If not, he will at least be back within the next 2 weeks, because he will be coming back on the road next week. Not sure what his availability would be for Friday. We will talk more and see. But right here and now, you got me, D. Willie, out here in these streams. And you can also go back and see something that I did from last Saturday. The Grind WrestleMania promo from this past weekend. Go back and check out this episode on Sartoba Media and the Grind platforms as well. We previewed WrestleMania. Go see where we were right. Go see where we were wrong. And just if you love wrestling in general, just give us the support by checking it out. We greatly appreciate it. And give us the truth, because you know we can handle it.
Yeah!
Let us know if you had a great time, or just say this. In the comments, you know you want to, and you know you want to have some fun, and if you don't do it, it'll be a total
Surprise, motherfucker.
Absolutely. Let's see what you guys got to say out here in the comments, and put myself back up on the screen. Dante's out here saying, what's up, guys? And what's up, Dante? Glad to have you out here with us in these Mother, Father, and streams.
Oh, my brother, testify!
All my peoples are in the house. We got 84 people watching live. Bringing the swagger back.
I think I got my swagger back. Oh.
Between YouTube, X, Twitch, Facebook, and something else I can't even remember right now. LinkedIn, maybe. I don't know. Got to go back out there and check here in a second. Damn! But soon I will get back on track and see exactly what all we're streaming to when we have our next commercial break. But right now, we are live. Dante says he's upset that Dallas just took his day 2 pick, and we will definitely get into the updated for the round 2's picks here very shortly. Once I get caught up with that, that'll be later in the program here, probably in the next like 20 minutes or so. But right now, I just finished recapping UFL Week 4 from this past week with the 4 teams that we had. But yes, definitely have a lot to say. We did already recap round 1 of the NFL draft. We started the show off with that. It's like the first 30, 40 minutes. Sick, you can tell them in the comments. I forget how I spent a good amount of time on it, but you can go back and check that out here later on if you want to see this.
You guys want to hear a fucking story?
And those stories are at the beginning of the program in shenanigery at its finest. Now, when it comes to that, thank you for joining you guys who just came in. But Sick also says, yes, with Corey's comments, I'm going to come back to that when we get to that part in the show. But I really like that. I will definitely skim back and put that back in there because you're talking about the draft too. It's awesome. In real time. But Six says this about the Dumpster Pelicans. What in the Dumpster Pelicans looking cleaner than Pigpen is wrong with the Memphis Showboats? They are primed to be a championship team.
Hell to the no, to the no, 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 no. Hell no, no, to the no, no.
You know exactly right. They are not primed to be a great team. 0-4, but yes. Still trying to figure out what's wrong with them myself. It is just absolutely ugly to watch. Again, you're held hostage if you like this team. I'm sticking with it. The Showboats are looking to become the perennial losers of the UFL. But at least the one highlight is I'm hoping to shine some type of positive light on the Showboats and have them go viral in a positive way. In a comedic way for what I was talking about earlier by if there is a fan of the team, it's because they're held hostage. I got to make a short out of that. It was fun. I had fun and you had fun. Dumpster Pelicans. The Renegades eased up on the gas, but turned it up in the fourth quarter. Yes, so you absolutely saw the highlights too. You know exactly what I'm talking about. They eased up on the gas, turned up in the fourth quarters. I still like the fact that the Roughnecks were hanging tough with the Stallions. Had a little tongue twister for a second, but I like how they kept up with them. You know, you got to give them a little bit of a break with how bad they've been with the Roughnecks, but we actually do have the Stallions and the Showboats live right now in the first quarter on Fox. I'll give you an update on that at the end after I get to the preview section because I'll be basically doing a live preview of that. Because it'll be live. But that'll be in the 2-minute drill. But here and now, when it comes to the picks in the NFL draft, we will definitely cover them as far as an updated spot for the second round up to that point here in about 30 minutes before we have the go-home spot of the show. But we still have about another, I'm going to try to do another 52 minutes and make this a 2-hour show like Cole and I normally do, but I already told him before, I was like, I don't know if I'll be able to do a 2-hour solo with what I got going on today, but I'm going to try my best. But we still have plenty to talk about. We got the 4 games to preview. We've got the upcoming round 2, well, the current round 2 and the upcoming 3 to discuss a slight preview for. And I still have my Grand Champ of the Week and my Snowflake of the Week picks. So I think the Snowflake of the Week is going to be pretty easy for you to understand, but the Grand Champ, you might be, I'm not too sure. Now, for those of you who watched the commercial earlier, I'm going to actually click the same one again, mainly because the ending transition will take us into the next segment. But I'm sorry you got to see the same commercial again, but if it's your first time tuning in, it doesn't bother matter. It will be for a couple minutes, but when I come back, we still have plenty to talk about on episode 81 of Total Football Talk. Myself rolling solo today, doing the best I can. We are not in West Virginia at the Mountaineers. I just thought it was a cool, transition to have in the background. But looking at it for what it is, that in the graphic, and this in the show for this draft and this time that we are in, we're going to take advantage of that time by taking a little bit of a slight of a break and go into that commercial break here for you after this opening drive.
All right, let's go. We got trips, right? at 42, 989 on 2. Ready? Ready.
We're just getting started. Total Football Talk will return right after this. Whether it's news, the largest egg producer finds bird flu in chickens at a Texas plant, weather, devastating tornadoes rip through the heart of the United States, inspiration, a breast cancer survivor completed the journey of chemotherapy, and now begins a future one of matrimony or sports. Michael Jordan is shown on a photo with Diddy. LeBron James has a video extolling the virtues of a Diddy party. This has been yet another beating a dead horse presentation. We got you covered. BS3 Network, in association with Comey Media Incorporated, proudly present The Morning Shift with Cole Johnson. Live every weekday at 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central. Hey, Eagles fan. Join my man Cool McCain and a host of others as they break down every single game, every single week in an objective manner, and also from a fan's perspective as well. Remember, this cast feels just like you. Nobody likes you. And you don't care. Fly, Eagles, fly. Eagles Elite Podcast, every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on YouTube and other podcast outlets.
Everything Boston. I love you morons. New Kids on the Block, New Edition.
Dear whatever the law firm is. Sincerely, the U.S. Supreme Court.
Ben Affleck, Matt Damon. Go yourself again, Jason
It's that time. It's finally that time to discuss who the grand champ of the week is, the dog of the week. And, unfortunately, I didn't have enough time, except for this graphic and, the other ones for the games that took place. I didn't have enough time to make the grand champ and the snowflake of the week graphics. So I got to actually just tell you who I pick as my grand champ of the week. And, if it would have resulted in a win, even though the defense let him down, I would have picked Jordan Ta'amu for his production for the offense of the Defenders to be my grand champ of the week. But because he stood tall in there and everybody's put him as a career backup in Matt Corral, for the NFL, being a number one starting quarterback in the UFL, leading the Stallions to multiple championships. Yes, he was 14 of 25 at a completion percentage of 56%, but he did have 195 passing yards with 2 touchdowns and a QBR of 91.3, also rushing for 10 attempts and 52 yards. When you combine for, nearly 250 yards all purpose with a couple touchdowns, you did turn the ball over once, but you led your team all together to a victory, connecting with Deion Kane for three times of those 14 completions that you had for 69 of those yards. You did a solid job. And for that, I've got to recognize you as my grand champ of the week. Graphic or not, it's okay. You are still my selection for grand champ of the week for your contributions to your team. And I hope that going forward, you can continue to do what you're doing for the Stallions because, even though they're not as strong combined between the three phases of football as they were the past 3 years, they're still finding ways to win. They are still finding ways to win. They remind me of not this past year because they lost in the Super Bowl, but the team like the Kansas City Chiefs the year before when they won the Super Bowl. I'm going with them as that type of team that found ways to win, but it wasn't pretty. It wasn't precisely, the prettiest. It was kind of ugly because they're winning by one possession. As to where last year they were out there decimating teams, winning by like 20 and 30 points. Go back, look it up. It was stupid. The defense was beating up on the other teams. They only lost like one game in like 2 years or something like that. They were like undefeated between 2 seasons till they lost like a game last year. And then they won all the other games after that. It was wild. Stallions were beating up on teams, and that game that they lost, it was actually pretty close. So, for what it is, I might have to adjust my light because I just realized I had that little square thing in my glasses. But yeah, for looking at it for what it is, right here and now, I gotta go with Matt Corral of the Stallions is my choice for the Grand Champ of the Week. And if you got somebody else that you would pick, let me know who you would select. Maybe this is Jacksonville Jaguars for trading up to the Cleveland Browns to get Travis Hunter. I don't know. You tell me, because Matt Corral didn't get served the L. He served it to another team. That's why he's my selection for this. That concludes our selections for Grand Champ of the Week, considering that I am solo this week. So with that being said, we're going to take another commercial break. And when we come on back, we got to talk about the Snowflake of the Week.
Later, the post game. But coming up next, the 2-minute drill. This is Total Football Talk. Comey Media Incorporated. Creating content magic in the real world.
In a world where chronicles of the past are brought to the streams, whether the content is relatable or completely beyond your realm of life, there is no shadow of a doubt that this show is absolutely full of shenanigans. Get ready for
D. Willie in the evening.
This Sunday at 10:05 p.m. Eastern.
Exclusively on Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, look. Hey, stop playing games. Y'all already know. Go ahead and toss him some Willie Bucks. Ain't nobody playing around. Hey, $sign D Willie 87. Go ahead and hit him up on the Cash App and go ahead and give him some Willie Bucks. Look at Drew looking stoic, ladies and gentlemen. Stoic on that $10 bill. So go ahead, slide my man over some Willie Bucks, and we good. That's all I'm saying. We good. How about some Willie Bucks?
Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
Oh, yes. The tradition, the pageantry, the spectacle, the history, the slut. Wait. I gotta rep my brother's stuff right. All my DMV soldiers, stand up! And welcome to the Commander's Gridiron Report. If you want your Commanders to be rep right, well, D. Willie is your man. Commander's Gridiron Report. Every Tuesday at 1:05 p.m. Eastern, 12:05 a.m. Central. On the Sertoba Media YouTube channel. Music by J. Cool.
Where my soldiers, right side, Commanders. Where my soldiers, left side,
So we are back. We're not going to go to the 2-minute drill quite yet because it's time for the transition that we went from and the Snowflake of the Week. Oh, yeah. It might be almost May, but it's still cold enough for us to throw the cold, hard facts, the Snowflake of the Week. And even though I don't have the graphics, didn't have enough time, we got to talk about how this guy's been absolutely terrible for the first month of the UFL season. And that is E.J. Perry. E.J. Perry, who has a combined 503 passing yards and 4 games, 2 touchdowns in 4 games, 5 interceptions. And nonetheless, this past weekend against the Michigan Panthers, 8 of 16 in completions out of attempts, 74 passing yards, 4.6 yards per attempt for 2 interceptions altogether. Oh, no, 1 interception. The week before that, he had 2 interceptions. The week before that, he had 1 interception. The week before that, he had another interception. Altogether, 5 interceptions in 4 games to 2 touchdowns. He's the Snowflake of the month, let alone the Snowflake of the week. And he's been my Snowflake of the week at least 2 times by now. This might be the 3rd time he might be my Snowflake of the week. But you're just setting me up, E.J. Perry, for Showboats, the offensive line, the entire team. It's just bad. But E.J. Perry is not leading the ship right. It just doesn't look right. He has this look on his face like Eli Manning. Like his Eli Manning's younger brother. If there was a long lost Eli Manning little brother. Not a brother of Peyton and Cooper. I'm just saying just a brother of Eli. More or less a clone of Eli. E.J. Perry. Eli Manning Perry Jr. That's what it could be. Eli Manning Jr. Perry. There it is. Eli Manning Jr. Perry. What if his middle name is Manning Jr.? Eli Manning Jr. Perry, E.J. Perry, with that stupid look on his face, throwing all these interceptions, looking like Eli Manning Jr. Brady Payton. Wait, hey, I don't know what the explanation. Eli Manning Jr. Payton? No, I just combined a bunch of names all up into one. No, his name is E.J. Perry. But Eli Manning Jr. Perry could be his name in secret. Because that's how he's playing with all these interceptions. You know it, and I know it. Come on, you give me something out here, sick. You know you got to say something out here in the comments if you're still out there. But all together, Eli Manning Jr. cracking my own solo up. Eli Manning Jr. Perry. He gets my selection this week for the Snowflake of the Week. 8 of 16 completions out of attempts, 74 passing yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. And 5 interceptions in the past 4 games. So for the past month, Snowflake of the Month, that's my vote. I got to talk to Cole about that when he comes back in the first 4 games who the Snowflake of the Month is. Throw this clip at him and see what he says. My pick is Eli Manning Jr. Perry, and so should yours. Your pick and mine. Snowflake of the Month. Eli Manning Jr. Perry, E.J. Perry, Snowflake of the Month.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
And you have to for the Snowflake of the Month, let alone the Snowflake of the Week every week here on Total Football Talk. As we are here for episode 81, we are live right now. Right here and now. If you're watching this live, if you're watching this in the replay at some point, you're still watching it right now because it's streaming right now as I'm saying that it is live right now. It might not be right now for you, but it's live at 8:31 p.m. Eastern time here as we are 1 hour and 23 minutes into a usual 2-hour broadcast. We got a lot to talk about. I've covered the UFL Week 4 recap. We discussed as well the recap of round 1 of the NFL draft, as well as the grand champ of the week and the Snowflake of the Week. We still have the 2-minute drill where we talk about the upcoming preview for the 4 games in this UFL Week 5 set of games that are, one's going on right now and 3 are between tomorrow and Sunday. And we still have round 2 of the NFL draft going on right now, as well as we have the UFL Week 5 we have to preview. And something else that I forgot, but I'll have to go back. The Eli Manning Jr. Perry got me twisted. It really did. I did it on purpose to kind of do this to you. But it did to myself too, because I was laughing internally. That the Eli Manning Jr. Perry stuff, that was wild. Great stuff out here in these streams. Tell me what you think.
Yeah.
Or are you just kind of just sitting there with this, befuddled look on your face, wondering?
What?
You could be. I don't know. But we've gone through a whole lot and more as we are here for an hour and a half nearly. I'm going to take it to one more commercial break. We'll see what we got as far as an update for round 2 of the NFL draft.
Later, the post game. But coming up next, the 2-minute drill. This is Total Football Talk. Comey Media Incorporated. Creating content magic in the real world.
In a world where chronicles of the past are brought to the streams, whether the content is relatable or completely beyond your realm of life, there is no shadow of a doubt that this show is absolutely full of shenanigans. Get ready for
D. Willie in the evening.
This Sunday at 10:05 p.m. Eastern.
Exclusively on Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, look. Hey, stop playing games. Y'all already know. Go ahead and toss him some Willie bucks. Ain't nobody playing around. Hey, $ D Willie 87. Go ahead and hit him up on the Cash App and go ahead and give him some Willie bucks. Look at Drew looking stoic, ladies and gentlemen. Stoic on that $10 bill. So go ahead, slide my man over some Willie bucks, and we good. That's all I'm saying. We good. Slide some Willie bucks.
Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
Oh, yes. The tradition, the pageantry, the spectacle, the history, the slut. Wait. I gotta rep my brother's stuff right. All my DMV soldiers, stand up! And welcome to the Commander's Gridiron Report. If you want your commanders to be repped right, well, D. Willie is your man. Commander's Gridiron Report. Every Tuesday at 1:05 p.m. Eastern, 12:05 a.m. Central. On the Sertoba Media YouTube channel. Music by J. Cool.
Where my soldiers, right side, commanders. Where my soldiers, left side.
As long as it's one. Oh, that's great. I love it.
All right, let's go. We got trips, right? At 42, 989. On two. Ready? Ready.
We're just getting started. Total Football Talk will return right after this. Whether it's news, the largest egg producer finds bird flu in chickens at a Texas plant, weather, devastating tornadoes rip through the heart of the United States, inspiration, a breast cancer survivor completed the journey of chemotherapy, and now begins a future one of matrimony or sports. Michael Jordan is shown on a photo with Diddy. LeBron James has a video extolling the virtues of a Diddy party. This has been yet another beating a dead horse presentation. We got you covered. BS3 Network, in association with Comey Media Incorporated, proudly present The Morning Shift with Cole Johnson. Live every weekday at 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central. Hey, Eagles fan. Join my man Cool McCain and a host of others as they break down every single game, every single week in an objective manner, and also from a fan's perspective as well. Remember, this cast feels just like you. Nobody likes you. And you don't care. Fly, Eagles, fly. Eagles Elite Podcast. Every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on YouTube and other podcast outlets.
Everything Boston. I love you, you morons. New Kids on the Block, New Edition.
Dear whatever the law firm is. Sincerely, the U.S. Supreme Court.
Ben Affleck, Matt Damon. Go yourself again, Jason
Oh yeah, we have already done the grand champ of the week, but I had to kill a little bit of extra time because I wanted to get some updates for you for round 2 in the NFL draft, and also have that live ticker here to make sure that it was ready to rock and roll and update the other monitors. So everything's all set for you guys here for the remainder of the program, so I can try to keep this another 30 minutes and still honor the 2-hour commitment for each week for this show. So right here now, we got some comments from you guys. I'll get to that in a second. But so far in round 2, still surprisingly, Shedeur Sanders is not selected yet. He is still awaiting to be drafted. The Cleveland Browns at 33, going with a linebacker out of UCLA, Carson Schwarzenegger. It's not his name, but Schweissinger is probably the best way I can say it. Jaden Higgins, the wide receiver out of Iowa State, goes to the Houston Texans as they traded for that pick from the New York Giants. Seattle Seahawks traded for the Tennessee Titans 35 to get a safety out of South Carolina. Cleveland Browns with that trade for Travis Hunter with 36 overall pick, select a running back in Quinshawn Judkins, the running back out of Ohio State. At 37, the Dolphins get a selection from the Raiders with the trade that they made, and they get an offensive guard out of Arizona. And at 38, the Patriots made a smart pick, and I'm happy for this kid, a local kid here on the East Coast near my hometown, Travion Henderson out of Hopewell High School, running back out of Ohio State. From this area, goes and makes it to the NFL and is drafted. Congratulations to Travion Henderson, the 38th overall pick in round 2, going to the New England Patriots. Chicago Bears, in a trade with the Panthers, get Luther Burden III with their selection that they took at 39, the wide receiver out of Missouri, who, earlier you guys said would have been a better selection than the number 8th overall pick by the Panthers. So with the trade that they made, they basically, the Bears, kind of look like, geniuses here with the trades within the Panthers and getting Burden III at wide, for their wide receiver pick at 39. But you think about how they got Rome Odunze last year and the other weapons they've had before. They sure are taking a lot of wide receivers over the past couple of years and just not panning out. So who knows? Burden III hopefully can prove the naysayers of those who throw shade at the Bears for bringing in all these wide receivers and not really amounting to too much, because, maybe he can change the tide. The Saints do take a quarterback with the 40th overall pick. Tyler Shue, a quarterback out of Louisville, comes in and is the 40th overall pick with the New Orleans Saints over Shedeur Sanders. He gets snubbed again. So another quarterback taken, and this time with the 40th overall pick over Shedeur Sanders. And we also have now gotten up to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 53 overall pick has been selected. The last quarterback, though, that was taken was with the 40th overall pick by the Saints. The Bills did take a Sanders, and with the trade that they made with the Bears, the Bills get to the 41 overall pick in the second round, and they got TJ Sanders out of South Carolina, a defensive tackle. The New York Jets in the 42 overall pick got Mason Taylor, a tight end out of LSU. That's a very good pick that they made right there, I would say. 49ers get a defensive tackle out of Texas, Alfred Collins. The Cowboys get an edge from Boston College. Can't say his name. We'll just say Mr. Donovan out there. He's going to do a great job, I think, because man with that kind of last name, he comes in there with type of intensity. The Indianapolis Colts also get an edge from Ohio State. And the Rams from the Falcons get Terrence Ferguson, a tight end from Oregon. So, I mean, these teams are making moves out here, just not for the Sanders family. But the wild thing is a Sanders was taken in the draft before Shedeur Sanders. That's wild. A Sanders was taken in the draft, but it wasn't Shedeur Sanders. I'm trying to make him something. All right, try this again. Sanders is selected in the 2025 NFL Draft, but it's not Shedeur Sanders, the 41 overall pick. TJ Sanders out of South Carolina, the defensive tackle, goes to the Buffalo Bills. Man. Defense just got a little bit better over there in Buffalo, but they didn't take the Sanders that everybody hopes that they would have taken. Man, I'll have to redo that again because I kind of want to make a clip out of that. I think that would be funny. Would you forgive me if I retried that one more time to those of you who are watching this? Thank you to the 83 of you watching this right now. Get to the comments here shortly, but Sanders is taken in the 2025 NFL Draft with the 41 overall pick to the Buffalo Bills as a result of a trade with the Chicago Bears. Defensively, the defensive tackle from South Carolina, TJ Sanders, is selected over two other Sanders who are draft eligible. Shedeur Sanders and Shiloh Sanders are still on the board here in the second round. All right. Hopefully they get drafted soon, but I just think that would be funny. And Benjamin Morrison is the latest pick, the number 53 overall pick, the cornerback out of Notre Dame, going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So these teams are active, and they're making moves out here, but Shedeur Sanders is still not selected. And the question is going to be, are we going to see him drafted tonight now? Because the second round's about halfway over. I mean, it literally is halfway over now because Anthony Belton is selected, the offensive tackle out of NC State with the 54th overall pick. There is only 10 more spots in the second round. You have the 55th overall pick to the Chargers, the Buffalo Bills, who acquired this 56th overall pick from the Vikings, who acquired that from the Texans. So it's been passed around a couple times with the 56th overall pick. The Panthers from the Rams at the 57, the Texans at the 58, the Ravens at the 59, the Lions at the 60, the Commanders at the 61, the Bills at the 62, and the Chiefs have the 63, followed by the Eagles at 64. So these teams that have the remaining second-round picks, I'm looking at them, and I don't see either one of these teams selecting a quarterback. The Eagles have a quarterback. The Chiefs have one. The Bills have one. The Commanders have one. Unless the Lions take him, with Goff being a little bit older now and also turnover happy, I think that would be a really good fit. Detroit selecting Sanders, but I don't think they're going to take him in the second round, though. And I don't see the Chargers taking him with the 55th overall pick because of Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert. None of these teams in the second round are going to take Shedeur Sanders looking at this. In round 3, which is tonight, could the Browns, if anybody takes him tonight, I'm going with the Raiders. taking him in the third round. Because then if the Raiders take him in the third round, it's still telling Geno, like, hey, we're invested in you, but we also need to invest beyond you, like beyond the next couple of years. We don't know what we're going to get out of you. Or you got the Pittsburgh Steelers who are sitting at 83. They could invest in Shedeur Sanders by selecting him. The Indianapolis Colts could select him at 80 because Anthony Richardson sat himself down last year. I still see that there's a chance for Shedeur Sanders to get selected tonight, but not until the third round. He's not going in the second round. They're not going to take him in Buffalo or Carolina or Houston or Baltimore or Detroit. Detroit would be the only one I would see in the second round potentially investing in him for the future because Jared Goff is turnover happy, and you're thinking 2 years from now. So I could see that being a potential spot, but not in the second round. He's not going there in the second round. Washington has 61. Buffalo has 62. Kansas City and Philadelphia rounded out, and they're not selecting Shedeur Sanders in the second round. I'm sorry. Round 3 starts Giants, Chiefs, Browns, who have the 67. I don't think the Browns take them at 67 unless they really want to invest beyond whatchamacallum, Deshaun Watson. I'm just baffled that the kid's still here and not drafted yet. Trey Harris was just taken wide receiver out of Ole Miss for the 55th overall pick to the Chargers, so that helps out Justin Herbert. But for the Buffalo Bills, who got this pick from the Vikings via the Texans, which has been traded around a bunch of times for the 56, I don't see Buffalo, Carolina, Houston, Baltimore, Detroit, Washington, Buffalo, Kansas City, or Philadelphia taking him in the second round. Sanders still sits on the sidelines. The top 3 picks are over here to the side, Ward, Hunter, and Carter from last night. But you got to think about this bottom left-hand side, that Dallas Cowboy looking sad in the background. Prime time. Did he cause his son to slip to the third round? Because that's what it's looking like. Did he cause his son to slip beyond the third round to where we're talking day 3 draft action, rounds 4, 5, 6, 7? Imagine what kind of upset we're looking at. You're live, Total Football Talk. I should have clicked on this an hour and a half ago, but we are live right now. But yes, Cole, you are missed. The NFL draft is still live. The 56 overall pick is on the clock. The Buffalo Bills. This pick has again been passed around a few times. Vikings via Texans. That's where we sit at here with round 2. Let's see what you guys got for the comments, and then we'll come back to this after we preview UFL's week 5 before we then wrap things on up with a bow at the 2-hour mark here in about 20 minutes. But Dante's in the house. Dante is now saying, he said up earlier that he's upset that Dallas took his day 2 pick. Yes, the Dallas Cowboys. Donovan, I don't even know how you say his last name, but Ziraku, the edge out of Boston College. That's who you wanted, I guess, with the 64th overall pick that you have in the round 2 selection of this draft. But you were not able to get him as a result of Dallas selecting him in round 2. But so far, the Browns have been active. They've got a linebacker. They've gotten a safety. They've gotten a linebacker. They've gotten a running back so far here in round 2, and they still have, more selections here tonight. They've got another one here in round 3. I mean, they traded back and they got some picks, and they needed these picks, and they're going to make a difference. I mean, they've still got 2 more picks in round 2. So 2 more picks in round 3. So they had 2 picks in round 2 and 2 picks in round 3. And there's still a lot of solid players out there that can make a difference for a team that's been struggling. Do they get Shedeur Sanders with one of their 2 round 3 picks? The Giants already got Jackson Dart. You don't bring in Jackson Dart and Shedeur Sanders and already have Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, and Tommy Cutlets. So you don't do that in New York. I like Shedeur Sanders going 68 to the Raiders. I like him going to the Saints. Let me go back and double check. But I don't believe the Saints took a quarterback yet, did they? I don't think they did. Don't believe they did. They could still take a quarterback. They could still invest in Shedeur Sanders in the 3rd round. I still like the Raiders fit with Tom Brady. And the Browns still have enough picks to where they invested wisely to where they could still snag him up in the 3rd round if they wanted to. The Dallas Cowboys could select Shedeur Sanders at 76 tonight and still look at it in the way of Dak Prescott mentoring the future. I doubt it, but it's a possibility. You got the Pittsburgh Steelers at 83, who could potentially take Shedeur Sanders tonight and have that as an investment piece for Aaron Rodgers. Like, hey, we waited until the 3rd round to where it was kind of safe to take somebody who could be an investment for the future, but this is like year 2 or 3 with him when he's in his mid-20s, kind of like what you were in Green Bay. We'll invest in you for a couple of years here in Pittsburgh, and we've got the veteran quarterback in Rodgers, and you get the 2 to 3 year plan if you really want to play till mid-40s. Or if he does go to Minnesota, you trade for like Kirk Cousins or somebody else to be like a bridge quarterback, or Mason Rudolph could just be that bridge for you until Shedeur's ready. But I like him going to Pittsburgh. His best chances of getting drafted in day 2 for round 2 or 3, which he's not getting drafted in round 2 because, again, the Buffalo Bills, they're not taking him tonight. And the Panthers are not taking him. Yeah, he's not getting selected in round 2. So, but his best options of getting drafted tonight are with the Browns in round 3, the Raiders in round 3, the Saints potentially, the Jets. But, I mean, with what they invested with Justin Fields, I doubt that. Not with the 49ers, no. Cowboys are just like a slight... Cowboys are like if they really want to bring in Dion. If the Cowboys select Shedeur at 76, it's because they want Primetime to be a coach at some point. You think Arizona will take a pick at round 3? It's 78. That's what their pick is. That's 2 picks after Dallas. So I think they would have to trade up. If Dallas is chipper about thinking about getting Shedeur, and they're talking about that amongst the conference calls, I can see that being a potential if they move up. But I think the Cowboys could take him at 76. The Jets, no, I don't think so. Not the Bears because they have fingernail man. The Saints, I don't think they take him this high in 3rd round. I think that because he slipped this far, they're going to wait to see if he falls to day 3. And then it's all about the matter of numbers at that point. He's got a really good chance of going to the Raiders at 68. But if they don't show too much of an interest, I don't think the Browns take him at 67 because he has 2. The Browns have 2 picks in that round, and the Giants or the Chiefs aren't going to take him. So his best bet would be to literally go 68 to the Raiders. Because the Chicago Bears got the 56 overall pick from the Bills. Man, they got traded for a 3rd time. And they took an offensive tackle out of Boston College. I see Shedeur either going 68 to the Raiders or 76 to the Cowboys. That's what I'm saying here in real time. If he slips beyond 76, Dante, I will say you could predict that well, and he could go to 78 to the Cardinals. If not, after that, his best bet would be to go 83 to the Steelers, and that could all still happen tonight. If he doesn't get selected by the 83rd overall pick, I don't think he gets picked tonight, and he falls to day 4. I mean, day 3, and he'll fall between round 4 and 7 tomorrow. which would be absolutely wild. Or no, wait, hang on. You said the Rams potentially because you got Stafford for only one guaranteed year. That's a really good thought too. I like the Rams now that you say that, now that he's fallen this far. But that would be the 90th overall pick. The 90th overall pick in round 3. I personally don't see him falling that far, but if he does not get selected by the Rams at 90 tonight there, Dante, without a doubt, he's going to day 3 and will be a 4th round pick at best. And that's sad. To see him slip this far is tough. But yes, we're at the 56th overall pick at this point within your comments. Keep the comments coming, you guys. I will get back to them here shortly. But yes, and Jalen Milroe is still not selected as well. So they could still select. He could still be selected ahead of him. But you said you'll draft him in the 4th or 5th if he's still there. Yeah, if he's still there, probably. But I mean, you don't really need a backup. I mean, if you really think he'll be a career backup at that point, I don't know, man. This is heavy if you're fans of the Sanders family, man. Very, very heavy. But right here now, with the comments, we're going to take this into the 2-minute drill and discuss the upcoming games for the UFL for this weekend for a few minutes. Then we'll come back to the NFL draft before we wrap this thing on up with a bow. Try it one more time again for the 2-minute drill. This here. And now I got the transition. It's slipped on over here to where I need to go back and find it. 2-minute drill is going from here to Snowflake, but I need to find the Snowflake to the 2-minute drill. And for the 2-minute drill, we have 4 games we have to talk about here and now for the UFL that during the commercial break, I accidentally clicked out of that transition that I have here. But, normally I would do this show earlier in the day, and we will be previewing this before the game started. But right now, the Showboats, who I threw a lot of shade at earlier for being 0-4, are actually up 11-3 over the Stallions. The Stallions have the ball with 9 minutes and 30 seconds left in the game. The reason why the Memphis Showboats are up is because they've been dominating the time of possession. They have a different quarterback in there who's 5 of 12 and has a touchdown pass. His name is Dresser Wen. They benched E.J. Perry. I guess they listened to the naysayers. But a different quarterback is in there leading the way with a touchdown pass, no turnovers, and 104.5 QBR. Other than that, except for good old D. Anderson with 2 receptions, for a very, very decent total out here today. He's got 2 receptions in this game. But looking at the 2 receptions and what he did with them, he has 81 yards, averaging 40.5 yards per catch with a 78 for a long. So he basically had a 3-yard catch, and then the other one was a 78-yarder, and the 78-yarder was the touchdown, which is why Dresser Wen has a good QBR right now. For the Stallions, Cookus is in for Corral, and he's not looking good. 2 of 7 for 18 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, but has a QBR of 39.6. And the Stallions have been struggling to get the running game going as well. If they continue to play that way, they will lose this game, and it will be the upset of the week, more than likely next week when we're back for episode 82. But I'm going to predict that with it being 9 minutes and 37 seconds, with 9 minutes and 30 seconds left in the second quarter, and the whole second half that you have here, the Stallions are going to find a way to come back and beat down on the Showboats team that's 0-4 coming into this game. If they lose this to an 0-4 team, they are definitely not winning the UFL championship this year and going back to back times as champions. But it has to be proven right here and now, and it's going to be proven against the Showboats. And this is in Birmingham, so the Stallions need to do this at home. Currently losing 11-3 to the Showboats. I still predict them to win this game and come back and win this with plenty of time left on the clock.
Hey, who's giving them the business?
Tomorrow, there's only one game for Saturday, and it's at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. The Michigan Panthers are on the road in St. Louis to take on the St. Louis Battlehawks. The Michigan Panthers are 3-1. The St. Louis Battlehawks are 2-2. This game is on ESPN. The Panthers, again, are 3-1. The Battlehawks are 2-2. And coming off of 2 consecutive losses, I think the Battlehawks are going to pull this one out at home against the Panthers. Both teams will be 3-2 after this game. And this game, again, will be on ESPN at 7 p.m. Eastern Time.
Hey, who's giving them the business?
Sunday, there is 2 games for the UFL. The Defenders are on the road of D.C., Washington, D.C. The Defenders, who are 3-1 now as a result of losing in that upset of the week to the San Antonio Brahmas. They are going to be facing the Arlington Renegades in Arlington, Texas. The Renegades are also 3-1. This game is at 12 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. I think the Defenders are going to give a pretty good fight because they're going to be embarrassed from losing this past week's game. But based on what we saw in the exposure of how they played last week, I think they find a way to lose this game to the Renegades. And the Renegades hosting this at home will be a boost for them. They're going to find a way to win this game, improve to 4-1. The Defenders fall to 3-2. And unfortunately, even though I pulled for the Defenders, I'm just trying to be realistic. I think they'll be 3-2 after tomorrow's or after Sunday's 12 p.m. contest on ESPN.
Hey, who's giving them the business?
In the final UFL game of the week, the 1-3 Houston Roughnecks are on the road in San Antonio, Texas, to take on the San Antonio Brahmas, who are 1-3 as well, in what will more than likely be the Dumpster Pelican game of the week. 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. I'm going to go with the San Antonio Brahmas winning this game at home to improve to 2-3. The Roughnecks fall to 1-4, and that is my selection for this week's 2-minute drill for all 4 of these games. Come back and see us next week for episode 82's review of these games and the prediction for week 4.
Hey, who's giving them the business?
We're taking a one last commercial break, and when we come on back, we will give you one last update for round 2 of this NFL draft before we take it on out of here.
Later, the post game. But coming up next, the 2-minute drill. This is Total Football Talk. Comey Media Incorporated, creating content magic in the real world. Drew Willingham.
In this case, yeah, you put the blame on Kyle Shanahan for apparently not preparing the team enough for the overtime rules, supposedly.
Cole Johnson.
Peyton was considered a winner, and he was the darling of all darlings for Gerald.
With a special appearance by Tyrone Alizé McDummy.
Ain't nobody calling me. Text delete, 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 delete.
Join these 2 football enthusiasts as they give you Total Football Talk. Live every Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central on the Sertoba Media and the Comey Media YouTube channels.
So just wanted to remind you of that. That's like the normal times, but we've been doing this on Friday the past couple of weeks just to see what the viewership would be like, and you guys have been absolutely crushing it. So thank you all for being here and helping us out with getting more eyes on the product. We are here for episode 81 of Total Football Talk live right now, or if you're watching this in the replay, thank you very much for tuning in. Right now, we've gone through 58 picks of the NFL draft. There's only 6 picks left in this round 2. The Ravens are on the clock, followed by the Lions, the Commanders, the Bills, the Chiefs, and the Eagles. So I still say that Shedeur Sanders is not going in round 2. Unfortunately, we wanted to see him go to a team that wanted to go ahead and bring him in so that way all this drama and speculation on things can cease. But unfortunately, it's going to affect him to at least round 3. And if he doesn't go by, at the latest, number 90 overall to the Rams, if nobody trades up for him within those 25 first picks of round 3, he's not going until day 3 between rounds 4 and 7. And I know for him and for others involved who are just supportive of him and what he wants to bring to the NFL, it will do this to them. In comparison to what they imagined and envisioned for how the rookie season would begin, it's not starting the way that somebody who is the of the NFL at the cornerback position, and this is the way that people view him in comparison to the way that people view LeBron in the NBA. Prime is kind of up there, that stature. So for that, this is how he's fallen in comparison to Bronny James. This could be the treatment. It is the treatment of the effects of flaunting around with the fame like as it should. Dante says you'll draft him in the 4th or 5th round for trade bait. And well, maybe Colorado should unretire Sanders' jersey. Yes. So they announced it too soon. They should have waited until after the NFL draft because, well, I mean, they've retired jerseys of players who I guess who haven't been drafted in the first round before. But 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round picks, I've never really heard of falling to that and still having jersey retirements. But you can still have great careers. I mean, the kid did throw for over 50 touchdown passes in 2 years or whatever it was. And I don't know, give him his flowers, but at the same time, you got to give credit to Travis Hunter and the Jacksonville Jaguars did by trading up to the number 2 overall pick and selecting him. So, but yes. But Dante says, but on the bright side, this draft is getting very weird, but there's a lot of talent left. Oh, absolutely. I just think it's going to be wild if Milroe gets selected before him. And the Lions could select him before selecting Shedeur Sanders. I think that what they're afraid of is having all the media hype. They don't want to have. You don't want it to be a publicity stunt, and and that's why I think he slips this far down to kind of maybe their way of humble him a little bit because of how famous the Sanders family is, based on what Primetime has contributed to the NFL. But with all that being said, I'll get to the rest of your comments throughout here in the very last segment of the show before we wrap it up, and that is where we take things into the post game.
As long as it's one. That's great. I love it. I hope it actually is recording.
As we are live to the 84 of you watching this show, thank you very much for watching this live as we are in the post game. This has been a very fun broadcast, considering it's a solo one, and I did it by myself without Cole. It felt weird. It felt very weird, as it always does when I do this solo, and didn't have enough time this week to even recruit anybody to be here, and I feel bad on that part to not be able to share this with somebody else, as the Baltimore Ravens just selected Mike Green, the edge out of Marshall, with the 59th overall pick. So again, Shedeur Sanders still sits on the sideline. 5 picks left in round 2. The Lions, Commanders, the Bills, the Chiefs, and the Eagles have those picks. But, I wish I could do this the rest of the night, guys, here in the post game. It is 9:11 at night, and I need to get ready to go to work, and I need to be at work within the next hour and a half at latest. And probably a little bit earlier than that, and I still got to eat. So got to go in and help out for a little bit, but I did my best to do this solo tonight and do it without Cole. And Cole, hopefully you have safe travels back, and I'll see you next week. If not, I'll see you back in 2 weeks. But there's definitely many of these that we had to talk about between the UFL and draft picks so far. And I had a great time covering all that here on episode 81 of this show. Cole, looking forward to seeing you back here next week or the 2 weeks out by the latest. Did my best to live it up and do this solo today. And, if you are not here next week, hopefully I will have enough time to find somebody to do this with me, because it is just a different level when you're rocking solo. But I brought the shenanigery. People were bringing it in the comments. Thank you, Sick. Thank you, Corey. Thank you, Dante, and the others between X and Twitch and I think LinkedIn and Facebook. Facebook, I don't know if it's connected for the comments because I don't see any, but who knows? But Dante, yes, thank you very much, my man. I appreciate it. And you got a question. You got something. He says, do you think that the NFL's favoritism with the SEC, Big 10 over Big 12 otherwise want to see more competition? That is a great question, and I think you just gave me an idea of something to add to next week's slate. If Cole comes back next week, I'll throw that in there, a suggestion for him to put in there. But this week I wrote the slate and did this show, so let me know how I did here in the comments, whether it's live or personal message or whatever you think it is. And Dante also says, after the bright side of the draft getting weird, is he likes Milbro and is better. He thinks it's very similar, but he thinks it's a case of a weak quarterback draft class is why Shedeur Sanders is slipping. So to the 87 of you watching this live between YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, X, and LinkedIn, you guys rock. Thank you so much. Hopefully those numbers will continue to grow as we do this on a weekly basis with Total Football Talk. I'm hoping to get D. Willie in the evening back here soon, as well as the Commander's Gridiron Report, but I've been very busy. Been very busy with work and got other things here in the personal life that are going on. So everything's good. Just prioritizing the time, but still making some time to be here for at least the 2-hour Total Football Talk show each and every week, because that's where most of the love comes from. So with this show right here, like Sick Diggy, Dante, Corey, and the majority of you guys who are the regular, viewers on a regular basis as we are live, thank you. And to the many of you that watch this when we are not live in the rebroadcast and the replays of the other platforms, you guys are awesome as well. So for all of you that watch this each and every week, wouldn't be possible without you. We hope to continue to elevate out here in these streams, but it wouldn't be possible without you. Spread this to your friends. Click that like button, click that share button, click that subscribe button, as we have awesome transitions for you to watch and get excited and laugh at shenanigery like
Got me up. What's that? What's that?
Abso-mother-father-and-Lulu. We only got one thing left to do, and that's look at one badass outro. Well, before that, we still have breaking news is this. There's only 3 picks left in the NFL draft. Buffalo Bills at 62, the Kansas City Chiefs at 63, and the Eagles at round 2's 64 overall. Shedeur Sanders is still not selected. Everybody, please stay safe out there in these streams. Man, please. I just still can't believe the kid has fallen this far. I am still baffled. But hopefully this really does fuel the fire. Again, please, for episode 81 into 82 and to many more, this wouldn't be possible without you. As always, please stay safe out here in these streams.